One. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode number 5 of the Nati Pod. I'm your host, Ryan Townsend. Thank you so much for joining me as I look to recap the Bengals versus Colts game today. A very special guest of mine, Derek Blyberg, former sports information director at Urbana University, born and raised in Cincinnati diehard. Derek and I got to know each other real well at Urbana, and he was actually one of the main guys that actually helped me get this podcast going and encouraged me to start doing it. So, Derek, thank you for coming on and welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Honored to be here and really pumped to see you keep doing this thing every week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your encouragement more than you know, and I'm just looking forward to this recap and seeing where we can go today. So, Colts and Bengals today. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, Colts and Bengals today. For those of you that watched the game, up 21-0 in the first quarter. And the score tells it all. We lost the ball game 31-27 today. Just a brutal, horrific loss for us. Would have been a real momentum builder for us, coming in these next couple of games. Cleveland coming to us next week, Tennessee get the bye, and then the Steelers next week after that. But Derek, after watching the game today, just give me your initial thoughts on the game, your overall feelings, what went our way, what didn't, and just like how you're feeling throughout the game as everything changed from one way to another.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed from one way to the other. I think it was it was shocking at the beginning to see the Bengals get off to such a fast start and having everything go our way. First play of the game, we get the fumble and it's not reversed. So, obviously you're excited as a Bengals fan and especially coming off the loss last week and how bad that went. It was actually fun and entertaining to watch, but, also as a Cincinnati fan, you grounded and a little nervous about what's going to happen for the rest of the 3 quarters. And sure enough, it happened. And, whether it was getting complacent and, and let's be honest, this team hasn't really played with the lead. I don't even know when the last time we played with the lead was. Maybe Philly.
Yeah, it might have been.
Definitely not that big of a lead. And then obviously we know Zach Taylor's track record on the road. So,
yeah.
You're always nervous about the breakdown and falling apart and the collapse that happened today as a Cincinnati fan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This one was, it's amazing too at how many times we can come up with a new way to get, kicked in the stomach and a new way to lose. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, it really is. And it's hard to watch. I mean, I was telling you before the show, I mean, if the Bengals kept it rolling in the second quarter, I was going to go do yard work. I mean,
yeah.
I was checking this one off as a win, especially the way we just dominated at the beginning. And, hard to watch, but hey, it happened.
Yeah. Coming back what you said about, that kick to the stomach, saw a tweet by Jay Morrison, after the interception from Burrow. He's like, that'll do it. One of the biggest collapses in franchise history. And kind of reminded me a little bit of that playoff game against the Steelers with the Hill fumble and the penalties coming down. I mean, I don't think that in a sense I've experienced something like this high and low. Like obviously that we weren't out 21-0 in that playoff game, but something as high and low, like, oh, we're going to win the game, interception, and then the fumble, just a gut punch to the stomach. I mean, just having the lead 21-0, the offense is rolling. We're mixing everyone in. Defense is playing well.
Yeah. So it's 21-0 early, but the way it became, like the way those 21 points were, the way we scored and the way the game was going. I mean, our offensive line just bulldozing people, turning guys around. Like,
oh yeah,
that's unheard of for us in the run game. And it's just, AJ Green getting going a little bit. Just the way things were clicking, it was like we couldn't do anything wrong. So I think that's what kind of makes it a little bitter and hard to take, is that, it obviously wasn't a playoff game or anything too high stakes. I mean, you could argue it's high stakes every week now.
Oh yeah,
with Zach Taylor, obviously, with the struggles, but man, that was a tough one.
Yeah, it's one of those pills that like it's tough to swallow, but being a 2-3-1 football team welcoming Cleveland next week, and the difference being a 1-4-1 football team and welcoming Cleveland next week, those are two different pills right there, and I think they got the worst one of that today. So second question I got for you. After last week, I was huge on the defense. I thought Lou Anarumo drew up a great game plan. I watched a lot of videos, watched a lot of film of what he did to really limit Lamar and stop Lamar. Obviously, we know this week we have Philip Rivers, who I think it was Zach Kiefer or someone I heard on a podcast this week called Philip Rivers a statue. A beat writer for the Colts called his quarterback a statue. Like, we don't have to worry about limiting him in the run game, it's just a pass game. But having a 21-0 lead, he was able to throw all over us. What was the issue with the defense in your eyes? Was it the coaching? Was it guys just didn't know their assignments? Was it the injuries that we've been plagued with? Like, what was the issue today with the defense?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. Now, it was interesting that it's interesting that you say that about Rivers being a statue, because it's almost like we were playing the same defense that we played last week against Lamar. Bringing 4 guys, not really getting pressure early. Now, I thought today, especially, I thought Carlos had a good response last week to everything that happened leading up to that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today was the game where he should have been on the field a lot more. I haven't seen the snap count yet of how many snaps he played, but I do remember seeing him look. I know he made a play on like a swing route or something, really nice play, dropping back. I remember him looking fast off the edge a little bit at the end. Now, I think he should have been in there a lot more early. Again, I don't know for sure exactly how often he was in there off the top of my head, but I know that if he's going to be a edge rusher, third down guy, I mean, who better to do that against than Philip Rivers?
Oh, absolutely.
And not only that, Philip got banged up a little bit early, or I think it was early, second quarter maybe, where a guy fell on his leg and he's out there limping, and we're not bringing any kind of pressure. I mean, no. And when we did blitz, it was like guys were starting, 2 seconds after the ball was snapped. It wasn't well timed. It wasn't well executed. I remember one blitz. I think it was Bates. Maybe we brought a linebacker too, and that was maybe blitz.
Yep.
It was early.
Mm-hmm.
Second quarter maybe, first quarter, but that's really the only one I remember that went well for us.
I mean, the big thing that
did we have a sack? I don't even remember us having a sack.
I think we got registered with 1 sack, and that might have been what you were talking about with Rivers got banged up. We might have been registered with maybe 1 sack. It was either one. It was either one or nothing. Yeah. But I mean, when you're talking about the pass rush too, I was noticing that too. Like when he's getting pressured, when Rivers was getting pressured, it was night and day. Absolutely night and day. When it's a 4-man rush, he's got time to scan the field. He's dropping it in on us, the check downs here and there. And then when there's guys in his face, he's making the ill-advised throws. He's overthrowing guys, underthrowing guys. I just don't understand what Anarumo and his staff were wanting to do. Like, if you know a guy's not going to run on you and a banged-up receiving core, his favorite target, Mo Alley-Cox, was out today. And T.Y. Hilton hasn't been the same. He got like 10 targets last week, but nothing much this week. Like, where do you change the game plan if you're Anarumo? You know what I mean? When does that click for you? Like, oh, it's 21-14 now. Maybe I need to change it up. Like, is that something that they have to work on a little bit, and instead of like staying conservative throughout the whole game?
Yeah, I think the thing to remember is that he's still learning how to be a coordinator. Obviously, he didn't have any experience, so he's still learning. And unfortunately, we're not in a good spot where we can have a D coordinator that's learning on the fly. I think, again, early, playing well, things going our way. I remember one of the early Colts drives, it was a third down, maybe like a 3rd down and 7, 3rd down and 8. Jermaine Pratt makes an open field tackle where it was an out route. I think it was a route to the boundary, and he was in position to make a big hit, but he would have bounced off of him. So he makes the hit, but he makes the open field tackle. And that's something that, a Bengals fan, we're used to seeing guys miss those tackles.
Right.
So, I think guys were in good position for the most part. I mean, I think, I don't know if it was too much of the execution from the players, and I think most of it is play calling.
Yeah.
Especially being, when we got up and being complacent and letting Phillip Rivers go to town in the second quarter. I mean, I think what they say, it was Phillip's highest total passing yards ever.
I think it was at one point. At one point, I think they said it was his second most, and then I think when he threw that touchdown to Pascal, that LaShawn Sims got beat on. I think that's where it was his career
It was
high.
his personal career high in the second quarter.
Yeah,
which is amazing. Obviously, over 17 years,
yeah,
to have that happen today. But you mentioned Sims. Actually, if I had to pick a guy that struggled a little bit, that Rivers picked on, it was definitely Sims.
Yeah, it was definitely that drive going into halftime. Obviously, we knew we got the ball to start the second half, but it was that drive going in. It seemed like it was him and Phillips, Darius Phillips and LaShawn Sims. Those were the two guys that were getting picked on. Phillips couldn't cover any of the tight ends. Him and Von Bell were having a little mismatch here and there. And then the same with LaShawn Sims. He wasn't able to cover anyone either. So I just felt like
how many times have we seen a Von Bell or a Phillips or whoever get mixed up on a rub route or a crosser on a key play this season?
Oh, it was
someone
all
wide
the
open.
time. Oh yeah, it was all the time today. I mean, remember the one on that drive where Pascal scored that touchdown? Von Bell's coming in with a motion from Burton, and he's telling the corner, I can't remember if it was Sims or Phillips. He's like, "Hey, you got him. I'm going to get him." And then they both go to the same guy, and Trey Burton's wide open in the flat for another third down conversion. And that was a big thing too. We had them on defense. We had them in a lot of third and long situations, or like third and mediums.
Yep.
And we couldn't find a way to get off the field. We just couldn't find a way.
But we did early.
And early, absolutely.
And I think, I think that's coaching with the rub routes and the crossing and the picks. That's happened all season. What are we doing to correct that?
Yeah.
That's something that, I mean, to me, that's an easy fix, or at least shouldn't happen as often.
Right. It's just knowing your assignments, knowing what coverage you're playing, whether it's man or zone, and just knowing how to figure it out and being able to make those adjustments when you're dealing with stuff like that. But I mean, that's just, hopefully it's a bounce back next week against Cleveland. I know they struggled today, but it's just got to be something that can be figured out before the wheels really fall off the track, for me at least, the big thing. So
yeah, I think, and this might lead into your next question. Is your next question about Zach Taylor?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah. So the collapse today, and just the decision making, the play calling, and everything that could have went wrong for the Bengals went wrong, and everyone points to Zach Taylor. What are your thoughts through, I think it's 22 games? What are your thoughts on Zach Taylor? What'd you see today? And is he the guy going forward in Cincinnati?
Well, he can't win on the road. Hasn't won yet.
16-1.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's still too early to pull the plug. Now, I definitely don't think it's too early to make staff changes. I mean, that's going to be a leadership trait that he's going to have to portray here soon, in my opinion. And honestly, these next 2 weeks are going to be a really big test. I think heading into it's 2 weeks before the bye week, right?
Yep, it's Cleveland at home, and then it's Tennessee at home, and then the bye week.
Yeah. So again, the Tennessee is that's going to be like going to a game with the Ravens. So how are we going to come out against a team like that? But first off, how are we going to respond to losing to Cleveland the first time? They walked all over us as far as our defense.
Right.
So this next week, in my opinion, is, if you're not making the change yet, and we struggle next week, you have to do something with the defense.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, because in a sense too, a lot of people really harped on Zach Taylor about hiring friends. Now, Lou Anarumo was a guy he knew. Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator, was a guy he knew, and Jim Turner he had worked with previously before. I'm almost positive. A lot of people the Jim Turner hire especially, a lot of people were critical about because I don't know if you know, Bill Callahan, Brian's father, is the offensive line coach at Cleveland. And this year, they just have a massive turnaround with Cleveland, a massive turnaround with the offensive line. And a lot of people were saying, if you're going to bring Brian over and be your OC, why aren't you bringing his father? One of the most underrated hires that I've seen people talk about in the higher ups, just seeing that, like, that's one of the key things that a lot of people are seeing is, like, is he hiring the right people like you're talking about, or is he just hiring the guys that he knows and his friends?
I mean, when he came in, I don't think it was either. I mean, I think he just he hired who would take the job.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys did we go through before Lou was even the option? What, 6 guys?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's now, you have some big names out there who I'm sure would need a lot of convincing to come to Cincinnati. I'm talking about the 2 recent head coaching fires.
Yeah.
But firings, I should say. I just think, I mean, what else needs to happen? Like, what else can go wrong?
Right.
If you're Zach Taylor to make you want to make a change on the defense.
Yeah, because he always talks about, like, no, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, then if you're ownership, like, how many one-score road losses do you need to see out of Zach Taylor before you do something about him, being the head coach and driving this ship? I mean, come on, there's only so much that you can take as an owner. I feel like seeing your team lose like that.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
again, we are talking about a specific owner who has a history, so
yeah,
it's maddening.
I just think that, like, when you're talking about, like, how much is going to take, Zach Taylor is one of those guys that is always, for some reason, no matter loss, like, he's never like, we're not panicking. Like, at some point, though, like, I think you kind of have to panic and you have to wonder, hey, do I have the right guys here?
And I think that comes from above because he's not getting pressured. At least we don't know from the public perspective. But,
right.
I mean, if he's not feeling any pressure, like, what's going to change?
Yeah, if there's no pressure, then he feels like his job's safe. He feels like the other's job's safe, and he's got room to work with. But I just think at a certain point, you have to come to reality. You have to come down to reality and understand you have 3 wins as a head coach in the NFL. You have 3 wins. I get it. You didn't have your franchise quarterback last year. You went out and spent $160 million on free agency. But the fact that you're continuing to lose in these key games, something has got to click inside, and you have to say it's time for a change, whether it's coaching, whether it's players, like something that you just have to figure out and needs to change.
And let's give a little bit of credit where some credit is due with the O-line. I mean, for the most part, I think the O-line's been improved.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Redmond had some mistakes at the end of today's game.
Right.
I mean, right guard, just it's going to be a question mark for at least the rest of the season.
Oh, it's the absolute weakness.
And then Bobby Hart's the wild card, so you never know there. But I still think you have to give a little credit to fixing that, at least putting more duct tape over it.
Right.
So, we got that figured out. Now let's see what the heck the defense can do against Cleveland next week.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
And we talked about too earlier, one of his post-game quotes today about, and again, you're talking about him keeping the message the same, not panicking. His quote was, the locker room is built well and it's improving and able to handle adversity. And
right.
It's like, how was today adversity? I mean, you can say that after a loss, I guess, and trying to get your mind right for the next week.
Right.
But again, how many times can you hang your hat on that and just keep saying that? I mean, it's kind of like Marvin sticking to the same message.
Yeah.
I mean, something's got to change. But again, like today, there was no adversity early on. It was I don't know. It was just night and day between the first quarter and the rest of the game.
Yeah, I just don't know how anyone takes being up 21-0 as adversity. Like even when you're losing the ball game and you're coming down and you're being complacent, that's not adversity because you're still in the grasp of winning the football game. You're still in control, even though the momentum might be swinging one way or another. But none of that's adversity. Just the losing aspect is adversity, and something's got to click where it's we can't be in those situations to talk about the panic and the adversity and everything going through in that. Something's just got to click. Something's got to roll over next week in Cleveland or Tennessee after that. But it's something. At one point, the ball's just got to get rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, and the play calling is still suspect.
How about that fullback dive with Samaje Perine?
Yeah, it's big. It's big time suspect. What was his first carry of the year? His first carry as a Bengal?
As a fullback?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, when have we ever even seen that play? Sneak it with Burrow.
Sneak it with Burrow or hand it off to the dude who's been running hard behind the offensive line all day in Mixon.
Yeah.
Unless I can't remember if he was on the field or not, or even Gio. I would give the ball to those three guys.
Yeah, and I think
Samaje Perine.
And I think that play specifically, that play call doesn't give your O-line a chance.
No, not at all. I mean,
they're moving. It's just too quick of a play for them to have a chance. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's just one of those slow developing plays where if you don't give anyone up front enough time, it's not going to go well. I mean, it's got to be. You have to be better prepared in that situation. It's almost like he knew if the fullback dive didn't work that they were kicking the field goal anyway. That's one of those situations where you get the first and you keep trucking and you keep going and let your offense do the work. But I mean, just one of those things where something, like I said, it's got to get figured out. But on the next phase here.
What was the score on that? What was the score on that third down, that 3rd and 1? Was that before Bullock missed the field goal?
Yep, that was the drive right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the one where I was talking about if we go for it.
Do you agree in that situation to kick the field goal?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it just, in my personal opinion, with the momentum of where the offense is going on that drive and knowing how the defense has played up to that point, you have to score touchdowns. At one point, you've got to tell yourself, field goals are not enough. Touchdowns got to go. If it was closer, 30 to 35 yards, possibly we think about it, but it was a 48-yarder. A 48-yard field goal on the right hash. I don't really know if I trust Bullock in that situation right there. I trust my offense more, I think. I think I trust Joe Burrow and everyone else involved on the offense more. But
yeah.
But that's just my take on it. I think we've just got to be more aggressive in the offense and just
How about this? How do you not have Drew Sample as the fullback on that play? I mean,
that's a good question. I didn't think about that.
The guy already, he isn't, I don't know how much is really his fault. I haven't studied it, but he isn't that productive as a receiver. He's blocking. He's built for that. He's probably the guy that's most built for that role.
Right. Honestly, if Sam Hubbard wasn't hurt, I don't know if he would have been the guy, because remember back in the day when Marvin was there, Domata Peko was the guy at fullback leading on the goal line, and Hubbard too.
I think we've seen Hubbard do that this year, maybe early.
Yeah, he might have done early. I know he for sure did it in the last end of Marvin's year. I wasn't sure last year with Zach if he had done it, but I've seen defensive linemen in that situation do that. But Samaje Perine being the third string running back, I don't know how he's.
And again, I don't even know how much of that is on him, just because the O-line doesn't have time to block.
No,
fullback dive.
And when they know it's 3rd and inches and something's coming, they're going to stack the box like they did, and they're not going to break there. They're going to give you all they have. But so tag it on to my next question here. We're talking about the offense here a little bit. I do think the offensive line did well today. I was telling my buddies today, I saw DeForest Buckner a couple times going backwards. That's how much of a push the offensive line got today. And I thought throughout the game, obviously late, giving up a sack here and there, but throughout the game, they played well. But on the end of the line, the receivers, the receiver play today. T. Higgins had a 100-yard game. A.J. Green had almost a 100-yard game. He's 4 yards short. Tyler Boyd did well today, had 11 targets, I think 6 or 7 catches. What was your take on the receiver play? And specifically, what was your take on look to be a motivated A.J. Green?
Yeah, I mean, I think A.J. Green's been motivated. I just think he's been limited by, he's just slow. I mean, it's sad to see the decline, but even today, I mean, the only thing he's getting are slants.
Yeah.
He's just, lining up with that short split to the sideline with a lot of space and just really using his body to position himself off the defensive back. He's not getting a whole lot of separation. So, I mean, it's good to see him catch balls. I mean, he has struggled with drops this year. And hopefully this, gets him going a lot more. T. Higgins, I mean, he's only getting better, obviously, but man, he looked slow on that long play that he had today.
Yeah,
with the ball.
Yeah, I don't know if he thought he was clear in space and he didn't have anyone behind him, or if he was just I don't know, because I felt like he should have been in the end zone on that play for sure.
Yeah, he was looking over his left shoulder, and the guy was coming on his right side, but man, it looked like he was running with cinder blocks his feet.
Yeah.
But he is performing. John Ross, not sure what the plan was with him today.
I'm not sure if he was even on the field. I don't think I saw him one time today.
I don't remember seeing him on the field. But yeah, I guess, it's good to see finally that play downfield from Burrow to Higgins. But again, and Boyd, I think it's become reliable, but it's still how many downfield completions did we have today, and how many after the first quarter?
Yeah, not a whole lot.
That's still a huge, I think, hole in our offense, and I don't think A.J. Green's going to be the answer downfield anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you got to be happy with the improvement, especially from AJ, and hopefully Tate or Ross can come back and contribute as well and have some production. I think Drew Sample, Ethan Carter, someone has to get going from a tight end perspective, because that's only going to help open things up. I think that last drive, they're really hurting for a guy, a tight end, Kelsey, George Kittle type. Those are always the big time players in those situations, or kind of easy targets in those situations.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
In those situations, those are the guys who are your go-to guys. And I think I noticed that the first 2 weeks with Uzomah, he was a little bit of Burrow's go-to guy. If he work on a drive and he needs a quick check down or just a 5-yard spot route, Uzomah was one of those guys. Mike Thomas, I think, has been one of those guys, but obviously, he's not from the tight end position. He's not from the tight end position we're focusing on. But in a sense, with that injury, Sample just hasn't been able to be the guy that I think Burrow needs to lean on in a sense. Because Higgins, he's stepping up, he's doing well, he's progressing every week. Boyd, he's reliable. He's got the connection with Burrow, he's good. And AJ's starting to get his feet back under him again. 8 receptions, 96 yards. But when it's only those 3 guys, and you're yearning for someone in that tight end position, or even mixing out of the backfield to really get you, the guy that you need to be there in that crucial time, I think is something that's really been hurting us too, like you're talking about with Sample.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's not going to, he doesn't have an issue with accuracy. It's just, getting someone that's open. And then if they're not getting open, it's leading to the play at the end where he was trying to force one into Boyd. Now, I do think he didn't see the guy who picked it off, but he was still trying to force it in there. It's tough. I mean, it's tough to see, just because we thought the receiver core was going to be a strength coming into the season. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of that might be play calling to try and get Sample involved more. But I would like to see more out of the tight end position as far as having another option for Burrow.
Yeah, because I think when we talk more options about Burrow and who he's got to throw to, obviously teams know that in a game time situations like the big plays, they know Boyd is his go-to. Boyd's been the go-to. Mike Thomas has been the go-to a little bit. T. Higgins is starting to become the go-to. Like, I think that safety almost knew. Like, Joe Burrow said in the post game that he didn't really see him that well. He thought he was looser than he was. So that's why he was going to Boyd trying to make a play. But, like, if defenses start picking up on that and we don't have the outlet guy like Mixon or Sample from the tight end position, I think it can really start to hurt, when we're trying to go down and win a ball game. I think it can really start to hurt the offense and stall us a little bit.
Yeah, that reminds me too of Mixon's drop in the end zone. I mean, that was big. And I think we've been able to get some good production out of whether it was planned or not, or if it was a play called or not. I mean, Mixon and Bernard have had some good receiving plays.
Yep.
And I think, that's gone well for us for the most part out of the running back position. But man, the tight end, get some tight end production that really, and unfortunately we had a guy go down. Who was producing and kind of getting those opportunities and opening things up a little bit more. So again, I don't know if that's play calling or what, but or maybe it's just Burrow. I think there was definitely intent from Burrow to get the ball to AJ.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know. I think Mike Thomas has played well, and it's almost like you got to try and rely on Boyd as the one, and maybe Mike Thomas / AJ as the number 2 guy.
Yeah, and then bring
tight end would just open things up a lot more.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things we're missing.
Yeah, and it's tough too to play. Obviously, the Colts are good in the secondary, but Xavier Rhodes was out for a little bit during the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, Darius Leonard's not playing.
Right. Yeah.
He's huge for them in the run and pass game. So, obviously there's some missed opportunity there with Leonard being out, and I'm not sure that. Again, I haven't studied the film, and I'm having a hard time. I think I've already kind of forgotten about the game.
Yeah.
By choice here, but sorry, my camera just fell.
Oh, you're good.
Having a hard time remembering if we really tested the underneath and the linebackers on the underneath. We did a lot of slants. Obviously, those were available. You got to take it, but yeah, I just think I think we need more out of the tight end position in the passing game.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that too. And talking about, the underneath stuff, I think I saw it maybe a little bit today. It's been one of Higgins and Boyd's go-tos, but like with AJ being out there was a lot of slant, a lot of in-cutting routes, a couple out routes here and there.
We did have the play action rollout and having I think it was Higgins running back underneath against the defense. We had a couple of those, which are great. I mean, those are great play calls. The end around sweep with Boyd.
Yeah, that usually works. Or like usually Erickson in that position, whoever's the slot guy on the field, one of those 2 guys.
Yeah. But again, like you're having T. Higgins, who obviously they're going to be paying attention to. You're having him run what would be a tight end play, I feel like.
Yeah, and just one of those situations where like if a tight end's there, like he's more susceptible coming up with the ball. I'm not saying T. Higgins can't go up and get the ball, but like when we're talking about a Kelsey or a Kittle or even a Uzama, like when you're boxing out like that a little bit on some of those plays, like it's easier for those tight ends to go get those balls a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, good stuff with the offense today, honestly. Burrow looked good, another 300-yard passing game, but just certain spots here and there that I think we can do better on, and just something that, we can look forward to next week when bringing Cleveland to Paul Brown Stadium, hoping to get a win. But with that, bringing it up to Cleveland next week, they just came off an absolutely blowout loss today, losing 38-7 to the Steelers. Can say firsthand, I did not expect that. Their offense have been playing well. I knew Pittsburgh was going to be tough, but I didn't see them giving up 38 points, and I didn't see them also scoring 7. So to close us out here a little bit, looking into Cleveland next week, what are your thoughts on Cleveland, and what do you think we have to do in order to come out and be victorious next week?
Man, that's tough. It's hard. It's hard to make any kind of judgment after Cleveland's game today, just because they seem to be clicking and producing pretty well on offense, and it almost sets us up for even more heartburn and heartbreak, because now you're going into a game where you're almost thinking, not that you can come out a little bit more with a little bit more confidence, because Cleveland just got shellacked.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to say you'd ever look. I don't think you're ever looking past anyone in the NFL, but obviously you got Tennessee coming up.
Right.
So, I mean, these guys should be motivated to get back at Cleveland. I don't think that's going to be a problem of looking past Cleveland, but I think just looking at the film and what Cleveland did today, there might be a little bit more of a sense of, laid back, relaxed, and hopefully not complacent like we saw today.
Yeah.
I think if we come out like we did the last time against Cleveland and like we played the end of this game, I mean, it's going to be brutal. I think, the Browns are going to come out obviously motivated like we did today after losing to Baltimore. They're going to come out like they played against the Cowboys and last time they played us, and I just think that it's going to be on Zach Taylor. It's going to be on the coaching staff again to get these guys going and to come out with an aggressive game plan, and hopefully taking some shots downfield. Hopefully dialing up the blitz packages.
Yeah.
You almost wish you could duplicate a Jesse Bates or clone Jesse Bates two or three times, because I mean, he's everywhere, and I think he could be really valuable in the blitz game.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can't risk taking him away from the rest of the field. I mean,
yeah, controlling the secondary. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one guy who's reliable, I think, and is going to make your plays like he did today with that interception. So, I don't, maybe this is the week where Geno breaks out. Maybe Carlos can get on the field a little bit more and make something happen. I don't know, but it's going to take another start like today, and keeping up that aggressiveness throughout the game against Cleveland, who's going to come in fired up.
Yeah. And just finding a way to keep that ball rolling a little bit, like when we start going and say we get a lead on Cleveland, just gotta go, keep going, and not getting so complacent. Because go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think getting the lead first or keeping it close at least early is going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off a loss like this, because if you get down early by a couple of touchdowns, I mean, I don't see this team coming back from that.
No, yeah, and you were actually taking words right out of my mouth, bringing it in the next point, because with having this game in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati being 1-4-1, like I talked about, instead of being 2-3-1, this is almost a game where you think this is a must-win. Seeing Tennessee in your rearview mirror, getting a bye week, seeing Pittsburgh twice in your rearview mirror with another game at Baltimore, like you have to almost come out prepared and ready to go. And like you're saying, Cleveland's going to be one of those teams, like if you get down, they're still looking for momentum. They're 4-2 right now. There's nothing wrong with being 4-2. Just because they got slacked today by the Steelers doesn't mean they can't come out and hit us in the mouth first. It's just one of those games where we've got to start going a little bit, get the ball rolling, and just keep the pressure on them a little bit. And I think it's got to be something you come with a little bit more fire next week, and just trying to get this game past us and looking forward to Cleveland. So, but hopefully we can get it done, man. I mean, I'm always rooting for them, but after seeing today, it's just one of those games where something's got to change for us, and something's got to come our way.
Yeah, I mean, and today we got a little glimpse of it. It was just a little appetizer, but hopefully we see the offense break out like we did against Jacksonville. I would still argue that that wasn't really breaking out. Jacksonville's not the best team. If we could see a dominant performance against a team like Cleveland, who has played well for the most part of the season, that'll be a great sign. And obviously building confidence going into Tennessee and then Pittsburgh. I mean, this game's almost a must win, I think, if you want to try and salvage anything from this season.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Not saying, we're anywhere close to Super Bowl contenders or division contenders or playoff contenders, obviously, but if you don't want another 2 13-1 season, 1 14-1 season, it's got to be a breaking point for us, and we've got to find a way in one way or another to get it going.
Yeah, and I would keep an eye out too for that bye week with possible changes coming through the coaching staff. Not Zach Taylor. I think he's safe for this season. I think he'll play out this season.
Yeah.
But maybe Lou over there on the defensive side.
Yeah, or just like any certain assistant or position coach, just seeing how certain positions play here and there coming up to the bye week. So I think that'll be interesting to keep an eye out for as well. So that's going to do it for us here on the Nasty United Pod, episode number 5. Derek, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight. We had a great talk, man. Talked about a lot of stuff. Just hoping we can get the ball rolling a little bit here, man. Hopefully we can salvage the season. So
yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to following the rest of your coverage, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming on. Check it out this week a little bit as we look to preview the Browns and Bengals game. Write-up or podcast coming up. Be on the lookout for some Reds content here coming up after the playoff baseball is all done. Looking forward to seeing what the Reds can do and some free agency stuff there. But thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for coming out tonight. Who day. We'll see you guys next weekend.